On commodities market, we're looking at copper. Well, copper still remains one of the most resilient metals in very high demand due to its multiple uses. Our copper prices jumped on Monday as investors assessed the decision by Chile, the world's top exporter of the metal, to close its borders in April due to a spike in COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, the precious metal has reached an 8-year high as at March the 31st, 2021. Well, joining me now to talk more about this is the head of treasury at financial derivatives company, Juliet Adenuga. Thank you very much, Juliet, for joining us. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Chizzy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, the price of copper has been on rise. What could be responsible for this persistent price increase in the international markets, and how sustainable is this trend?
Thank you very much. The persistent rise in copper in the market is driven to a large extent on the possibility of a rebound of the U.S. economy. In recent times, due to unexpected and below anticipated rollback of the COVID vaccine plan, in terms of vaccination, a lot have been done so far. Many people have been vaccinated, and there have been a kind of easing on the restrictions to businesses. So there's kind of more job opportunities for people. And that has impacted so much on the labor market, leading to a total trickling down effect to the copper price in the international market, especially in New York. But beyond the COVID issue, the vaccination effect is the fact that copper is becoming a very, very key metal in the world economy today because of its multiple uses, especially in relation to electricity. In terms of electrical conduction, copper is the most important, or the metal that conducts electricity most. So with the pressure to find alternative sources of fuel in place of fossils and non-fossil fuel, and the emergence and the more importance being placed on electricity, copper is definitely going to become more useful. And the price, and that is what leading to the increase. And I think it might be sustainable for a while, depending on the demand for it, how sustainable it is, this anticipation for increase in demand, alongside how effective it becomes. That will depend on how sustainable this increase can last.
According to the basic principles of economics, a rise in the price of copper should lead to a decrease in quantity demanded and a corresponding increase in the demand for its substance. What do you foresee will be the reaction to the price of copper as unemployment declines in the United States?
Presently, there is a rollout plan for infrastructure, a $2.25 trillion dollar rollout plan by the U.S. government. And that will entail a lot of maintenance and work to be done on roads, on highways, and on bridges, as well as the electric vehicle, boosting of electric vehicle. So I don't think there'll be higher demand of copper. More of copper will be needed. A lot of copper will be needed for the project to be carried out. And I don't see the price in copper affecting that demand because becoming elastic. Because when it becomes a necessity, the impact of the change price on the demand will be reduced minimally. And mind you, there are also other needs of electricity apart from construction and now becoming an alternative of fuel. So there will be a higher demand of copper. And in the near term, I don't see any change in the quantity demanded of it based on increase in price. Rather, the inelastic nature of the inelastic property is going to come by reason of its higher demand, and its necessity is going to still be for this copper to be demanded despite the price.
Now, Africa's largest copper producer is Zambia, and in spite of the current high price of copper, Zambia has defaulted on its debt obligation and is virtually in distress. How can you reconcile this 8-year high of the price of copper and the current situation in Zambia?
What is happening in Zambia is actually a case of what is obtained in most sub-Saharan African resource-rich economies. It's not just peculiar to Zambia. According to some literature in economics, a lot of literatures have been able to establish the fact that resource-abundant nations tend to perform dismally when compared to their non-resource abundant counterparts. And this is what is just in economics, it's a malady called resource cost. It's been evident and it's been shown over time that these nations in sub-Saharan Africa, of which Zambia is one, that are rich in natural resources, tend to misappropriate the rents and the returns on these resources. A typical example is that there is bad governance as a transmission channel. There is also institutional qualities that are so poor. There is rent seeking by those in government. There is the challenge of lack of property rights and other related transmission channels through which this resource cost is passed down. Zambia is not a different case altogether. Recently, early this year, they took up the debt of Glencore, one of the Swiss mining companies in Zambia. A country with so much in terms of debt portfolio shouldn't be thinking of taking up such, but they took it up. And if you look at it properly, you see it's just like a short-term political decision against making long-term economic sense. So when leaders of resource-rich, abundant nations fail to appropriate rents, especially during windfalls, there will be no magic they will do. They will have to live with the decisions. Those suboptimal policies tend to come back to them. Presently, now that we have the case of copper going up, what will Zambia do? They're already down there. They've made decisions in the past. They've taken paths that are not beneficial. They have to grapple with what is facing them and bear with it. And that is so also applicable to other resource-rich nations. The time to begin to look at the kind of leadership, what we are doing with these resources, especially when we have windfalls, is very necessary. What are we doing in terms of socioeconomic development? What are we keeping and piling up for times of the rainy days, which are sure to come? So I don't know. The deplorable state of Zambia cannot be, we can't just do a magic. Magic cannot happen. It cannot be, put aside. They have to carry along the decisions they made in the past and bring it to bear presently. Hopefully, they'll be able to get out in such a way that they can add some values to the economy.
And maybe Nigeria would also have a lesson to learn in all of this. Probably. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, Juliet. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.